Hello and welcome to the Groundhoppers Guide. This is number 11. I've run out of fingers.
I was about to get a toe up, but that was not for free.
We are returning for a new season, or a new pre-season anyway, having sort of concluded last season's business sort of the start of May. July rolled round and we're into the new footballing calendar according to Footballogy on July the 1st. So we're in a new season and we've been to quite a few grounds already.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, we're not even kind of done with July yet, and when I was looking at July, it was a very, very busy calendar.
Yeah, they've truncated pre-season because of the World Cup happening in the winter. We've got everything has had to get squeezed up, so the pre-season's got squished up, and then you've got the season starts in a week. So we're basically into the season already. Like last year, I think I went to 4 games in July, but my pre-season kept going into the first week.
I mean, the German season started 2 weeks ago, so it's amazing, really.
Yeah, we're underway very early this year, so we've got plenty to talk about. The lead on this was originally going to be, hey, we both went to Sweden. But what happened to me was my flight got cancelled at 4 hours' notice, so I didn't go to Sweden, and Mike went to Sweden on his own. But I did get a T-shirt out of the deal, which is pretty sweet. That's
because I'm a lovely man.
The Icor T-shirt that Mike brought back with him for 200 krona. I don't know what that is.
About 20 quid. It's about 20 quid.
Yeah.
You just take the zero off, basically.
So Mike's going to tell you about Sweden while I sit here fuming at how much I hate Euro wings. Because when he was in Sweden, I went to Nuneaton Boro, which is
that's the joke, really, isn't it? Yeah. So as Arn just mentioned, so I went to Sweden for the weekend. So we'd originally planned to go to AIK Solna versus Mjällby AIF on the Saturday. And then on the Sunday, we had the Stockholm Derby game between Djurgaarden and Hammarby booked in, which, to be honest, it was the best opportunity to do 2 very, very good and important European grounds in a weekend, and it kind of not really be that much hassle, really. I didn't look this up, but I don't know whether that if it's not a derby game, do Hammarby / Djurgaarden play on a Saturday the same time as AOK? I wonder whether they would play on the same day or not. But
I don't know, because there's 3 teams, isn't there? So maybe they'd stagger the games.
Yeah. I don't know. But anyway, so got to Stockholm, and we was just saying before we came on air that me and Arn, I think the reason why we get on very well when we travel is we have completely different styles of travel. Arn likes to plan meticulously everything, and I like getting lost. First day I got there, I kind of had a wander around and kind of got my bearings for the place. So I've not got my wallet. I should have picked that up. But first thing that I did when I got there is you land at Stockholm, Arlanda, which is like the big airport, and then you have to get the Arlanda Express into the center of Stockholm. This was kind of the first thing that made me go, God, this is going to be expensive, because the Arlanda Express is like an express train that takes 15 minutes 20 minutes into the center of Stockholm, and that was a £45 return for 20 minutes.
Because I'd done my research,
you probably pre-booked it.
I planned it. You can get a travel pass that gives you the weekend for, I think it's 72. I can't remember if it's 72 kroner or 72 pounds. I can't remember. Yeah. But it was you could buy the pass, and it lasts it's 72 hours was how long the pass lasted for. I can't remember how much it cost. But so you could have landed, bought the pass, and then used it until the Monday, basically.
Well,
I completely forgot to tell you about it because I was so annoyed.
what I did, which was kind of stupid, is that I bought the Arlanda Express, and then when I got to Stockholm, I also bought the 72-hour pass. So I kind of doubled up on the old transport. About 2 hours into arriving in Stockholm, literally just after I bought my pass, I also lost my debit card, which was great fun. Yeah,
Cursed trip.
Thankfully, I had my credit card. A thing about money: don't take cash. No point. Anyway, so get up to Saturday. So I kind of bummed around Stockholm the first day. On Saturday, I kind of got up early because it's 3:00 kickoff, like in England. But so first thing I did on Saturday morning was I went to the Stockholm Olympic Stadium, which is a beautiful ground. It was built for the Stockholm Olympic Stadium. It was built for the.
I've got the ground all queued up, and I completely forgot that you went to the to the other ground.
It was built for the 1912 Olympic Games in Stockholm, and it's absolutely stunning.
So
And it was until very recently, it was the home to Djurgaarden. Yeah, there we go. It's absolutely stunning, and it's until quite recently it was a home of Djurgaarden until they moved to Tele2. Icor played there briefly, but then Djurgaarden sort of took over it. And this is actually in the area of the city called Djurgaarden. No, it's near Djurgaarden anyway. They still use this ground. I mean, 2 days before, so the night before I arrived in Stockholm, they had the Diamond League Athletics there. So it's still being used sort of for a high-level sport. Djurgaarden's women's team play there. And unfortunately, they were refurbishing it, so I couldn't kind of have a poke around. But I kind of did a nice walk around the outside of it, and it's a really stunning ground. I'd love to go back. It's kind of a ground that I want to go to see the women's team play there because I kind of want to go see what it's like. So I got that, and I kind of had a bit of a walk around there, and then went back to the sort of the centre. So we ended up getting the train out to Solna, which is sort of in the north of the city, and I took a bit of a short walk through this sort of housing estate over towards the Friends Arena, which is where Icor play. So Friends Arena is
Friends
Arena. Yeah, so it's a ground that Icor. It was built for the Swedish national team, and it replaced Rasunda, which was there we go. That's the Friends Arena. So it replaced the Rasunda Stadium, which is now sadly departed. Which was also home to Icor and the Swedish national team. But it's a beautiful ground, to be honest. It is a beautiful ground.
They're both big old grounds, aren't they?
Yeah.
Friends on the Tele2.
And they were both. The strange thing is they were both built within a year of each other, and it's so weird that they were both built at the same time. So the ground is obviously, you go into the ground, and so it's part of like a big enabling development. So there's like the Westfield Mall of Scandinavia. There's a giant like multi-lane train station. It's very much like how when you went to West Ham.
Yeah,
it's very much like that in the sense of to get from the train station to the ground, you'd most likely walk through the Westfield. So it's very much like very reminiscent of that, and actually built around the same time as the Olympic Stadium, really. So yeah, there we go. That's the interior you got there. So it's all blacked out seats, navy blue sort of seats. So I assume that's for Icor, but I suppose it's neutral enough that Sweden could play in that as well. They can close that roof in the winter, and I do believe they do play indoors in the winter occasionally.
Is the Sweden's like a full-on summer league, isn't it? So they play from, I want to say, April?
Yeah, I think it finishes in October.
Somewhere around there, isn't it?
it's not far off when Ireland finishes, but
So not all the Scandinavian leagues are winter leagues. Like Denmark play the same league as us. I think they finish in June, possibly, maybe late May.
yeah.
And
the two leagues do overlap. Yeah.
yeah, but like Sweden and what's the other one? Norway, I think, plays a winter league. So
Sweden, Norway, Finland all play summer.
Oh,
Yeah, Finland.
I meant to say summer, not winter. But yeah, it's somewhere where you can kind of sneak off to in the summer if there's nothing happening football-wise in your country.
Well, it was kind of always the joke. I think when we started taking this seriously, we kind of said, well, I guess we're going to be spending our summers in Sweden. And, well, one of us did.
Well, yeah, 50%.
In a perfect world, we would have been. So, yeah, that was... so we kind of get in... The match day experience there was like, it was beautiful ground indoors. It was like the concourse is all open, and I know you love an open concourse.
Oh yeah.
Like everything was very, very well organized. Like if you wanted to queue for your concessions, it's fairly, it's all sort of lined out where you need to stand for certain things, and it seemed to work. There was never any real long queues for that. That's just before the game. So when the teams come out, before the teams come out, they sing this anthem, which is called RV Kor, which basically it's like their club anthem, and it's very, very catchy. And I've had it in my head the entire time since. It's so they basically everybody sings that, which is kind of cool. So I was right to the left of, I was right to the right of this sort of the big ultra end there.
Those boys.
Which I'm trying to think of a time. I actually don't think I've ever really been to a game with that much of a strong ultra sort of section before.
Well, that's kind of why we wanted to go. Especially the Derby game is because of the fans. I think it's probably more interesting to watch what they're doing than the games almost, because like the standard of fans is really high in Sweden, whereas the standard of football not so high.
That's 100% right. And the Icor fans, they sung for the whole game until a goal went in, and they kind of went a bit quiet, which was very disappointing. One note to mention is that I say Icor fans because there were 15 Mjällby fans.
What, 1-5?
Yeah, I would say no. Let's be generous. There were 30. There were 30 Arsenal fans, Mjällby fans, and I was like, that's really strange. But then when I sort of came back, I started looking at this, and I was like, well, why would so few people go to like a game in, like, let's say the National Stadium? So like, Accrington Stanley, or let's say Bromsgrove Sporting, they get a game against Tottenham Hotspur in the centre. You'd probably take a good couple of thousand people, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah. Easy 2,000 to 3,000, no problem.
And like, it'd be a long day, but like you'd take it, and you'd know you'd get pasted, but whatever. So I actually looked at Mjällby AAF, and Mjällby isn't actually a place. The team is from a small seaside village in the south of Sweden called Hallavik. The population is 813. 813 people. To drive to Stockholm from Hallavik was 6 hours. That's 6 hours each way. Basically, it would be easier for them to play in Copenhagen than for them to play in Stockholm. It might even be quicker to play in Hamburg than Stockholm.
What an away day it was for them, though.
Yeah, and let's face it, they're in the top flight. They would have to play Icor, they would have to play Hammarby, they would have to play Djurgaarden. So that's three times a season at least, not including cups, where they would have to go to Stockholm. That's not including going to places like Helsingborg or Göteborg or something like that. Like going to Malmo, where it's a 4-hour drive, is probably quite a close one for them.
I mean, it's a big old country, Sweden. I don't think we really have the perspective of it because, like, once you get into Scandinavia, it's like, it just kind of goes up.
Yeah. So that was rocking. I like to imagine that every, like, 3 times a season, well, at least 3 times, every other weekend, you can't get, like, the police station, the saloon, the post office are all closed because all of the town's young men have decided to go to the capital. I like to imagine that happens, but that was kind of the shocking thing about BRB. But hey, they got to see a win because they snuck a goal past them. The Icor should have battered them. Like, they should have absolutely battered them. They had Seb Larsson in midfield. I'd probably say he's the biggest player he's the most famous player who's still playing in Sweden.
Is this the travelling support in the corner?
Yeah, that right in front of us. Yeah, that's the travelling area. Let's say there's 40 people there.
There's not a lot, are
there? Yeah. Yeah, so Seb Larsson, who you'd know, you played for Blackburn, I think, over here.
Birmingham City he played for.
Yeah, so anyway, he played in England quite a long time. So he's probably, I think, for at least an English British year, he's probably the most famous player. Mikael Lustig, who played for Celtics, also playing for Icor, and they should have absolutely battered them. They had every single player on their team was better than Icor, the Mjällby players, but Mjällby just snuck a goal and they just capitulated. They just sat behind the ball after it. It was like watching San Marino get a win over like a Belgium or something like that. It was just there was no eagerness to go forward after that goal went in. So
I've just got the concourse up here just so we can see it. You can see the pitch. And
there was quite a few lads who just kind of stood in the bar watching it from there, and I was like, that would be a great way to watch a game, to be honest.
Yeah, Premier League's missing a trick with this.
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of the Friends Arena, and it was a great venue to watch football. I'd love to go for a big. I'd like to see that as a derby game. So if they had, I'd like to maybe see Icor Malmo or Icor Norrköping or something like that. I'd like to see that as sort of a big derby game or a big Swedish national game or something like that. That'd be a really good fun thing to see. It kind of was a bit subdued because there wasn't really much back and forward from the other fans. But yeah, so that was the Friends Arena, really, really good venue. I've got a kind of, I'll come back to it briefly after I've done the next ground. So Saturday night, again, bummed around Stockholm because didn't have any friends to go with. So then Sunday morning,
you get some meatballs though. I have meatballs on.
Yeah, Sunday morning I went to the Vassas Museum, which is basically a big old ship that they dug up out of the out of the sea. It's kind of like if you've ever been to the Mary Rose in Portsmouth, it's kind of like that, except for it's just massive.
This is a bit of a tangent, but like the history behind this boat is hilarious because it's supposed to be. It was supposed to be the flagship of the Swedish Navy, and they built this thing and launched it in Stockholm, and it didn't even make it out the harbour. It sank.
Like it was gonna basically put Sweden on the map as a naval superpower, didn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things like, what does the world look like if Sweden becomes a naval superpower like the Spanish or the British in that time period? Like, what would happen? What would the world be like? But yeah,
well, bit of a tangent, but like under Gustavus Adolphus, like the Swedish expansionism in Northern Europe was quite a thing there for a while. Like Sweden was a big player, and
that's why
then it just wasn't anymore. So probably because their boats all sank.
It's why all our Scandinavian friends hate Sweden.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so I went to Vassas Museum. I had some lovely meatballs. I definitely recommend it. It's worth a look around. I popped to the Abbey Museum. I didn't go in, but I had to get a gift for my mum. Okay. So then I got a trip down to the south of Stockholm. So that was the the one thing to mention is that the underground in the underground system in Stockholm is great. It's there's 3 lines, so it's pretty much everything goes through either the central station, or it goes through, very conveniently, Fridhem's plan, which is sort of two like an island over, which is coincidentally was next to my hotel, which was brilliant. I didn't even plan that. Basically, everything goes through those 2 stations, and the stations themselves are absolutely stunning as well. I think if I'd had longer, I may have spent an evening just riding around on the metro looking at the stations. They look like something out of like War of the Worlds or something. It's like amazing, like alien train stations.
Yeah, that's something else I was really excited about.
Yeah, so got the underground down to sort of the south of Stockholm, sorry, and like the Friends Arena, the Tele2 Arena, which is the ground we're talking about now, it's kind of built in a thing called the I think previously it was called the Ericsson Globe City. So the Ericsson Globe, which I think I've got a picture of, it's this. It's basically like Sweden's version of the O2 Arena. That's it, and they do concerts and things like that. So that's kind of that's quite an old. Well, I say old. It's like 90s, I think that was built, and then they've built Tele2 Arena next to it because it's kind of a it was. There was some and I do believe at one point they were planning this arena was going to be the new national stadium, but then they built Friends Arena instead. But then I think there was like, well, we've already got planning for this. Let's just build this anyway. So it's shared by that ground is shared by Hammarby and Djurgaarden, which is a bit of a strange situation because, number one, they're massive rivals. Number two, they're culturally and economically completely disparate clubs. Djurgaarden's, I think, the traditional posh boys sort of club. Djurgaarden is actually where the Vassas Museum is. It's like an island. It's like an island sort of to the left of the main of the city. Beautiful, beautiful area. But it's a club that's supported, but like the King of Sweden supports Djurgaarden. Like that sort of thing. Whereas Hammarby is like a dock area of the city, and it's where all the workers. It's kind of like the workers' club of sport. And
I think all of the characters in season 2 of The Wire.
Yeah, basically.
Did anyone bring a duck to the game?
I didn't see a duck.
No.
But yeah, Hammarby is the kind of the I would say it's like the left-wing working class sort of club. But in recent years, and as you can see by this tifo, that they're obviously rivals, and this is a big derby game, so there was a lot of tifo banners during the game. So this was just before the game. So if you can't see it, it's Hammarby. Djurgaarden, I think, mock Hammarby for selling out a bit. So this is a progression of their logo. So they're kind of basically saying that over time they're going to be Red Bull Stockholm, which I'm not quite sure. They do have the 2021 thing. I did look it up. That is the badge of a team called Hammarby FF, I think, which is basically they've bungled a B team into the second league, which play in like a smaller ground. But they've basically bungled a B team for Hammarby main team into the second league, and it's apparently very, very controversial in Sweden. So I think that's probably what they're mocking. But I don't know if you've got another picture of the tifos. Well, you've got the one behind it.
Well, we've got that's the Hammarby.
That's the Hammarby. Yeah.
Looking very sullen.
Yes, that's before the game got kicked off. And you see, look, Stockholm's Olympia Stadium, which we mentioned earlier. Djurgaarden are very, very proud of that ground, as you can see behind us.
Yeah, I've got that, so I can just whack that up in the main. That's the picture that's behind us at the moment.
Yeah, so what it says is Stockholm Stadium, 120 years. Some arenas are meant to live forever. that's a kind of a mock to Hammarby, who had their ground knocked down and demolished.
Yeah.
Basically knocked down and demolished, and then they moved into Tele2 with the rivals. So it's kind of there's a lot of sort of bad blood, I think, with that. The game itself was absolutely, the game itself was very hotly contested. They're kind of more mid-table-y sort of teams. I think Djurgaarden are better than Hammarby, but they're sort of level. And when you get into a derby game, it often ends up being who avoids like getting players sent off, basically. So yeah, this badge with this Tifa, which you can't see, it basically says thanks for 3 points, which they didn't get. Spoiler. They didn't get spoiler, but one really weird thing about this game, and I was not expecting it, is that the you had the dedicated fan sections, but the rest of the ground was unsegregated.
Yes.
So there were people. There were people in green and white stood next to people in full Djurgaarden gear, and I was like, it's obviously not that kind of culture. I assume if you go into an area which isn't a fan section, you're not going to kick off at each other. But I was kind of thinking, like, there was a few times where somebody like argued with somebody, and I was like, is this going to like kick off next to me?
What was it like outside the ground? Because normally that's where a scrap's going to happen.
So yeah, is it Ellis? Is it Ellis Platten away days or whatever it is? The football shirt
Ellis,
guy. Yeah. He actually went to this game as well, and I watched his video, and I don't understand what game he went to, because he said there was violence outside the ground. He was like, "Oh, there's people."
He saw one lad get someone threw a beer at someone.
Yeah, and I'm like,
he said like inside it was all friendly, but like outside he saw that was a bit weird.
I don't think there was. Well, he obviously caught one person throwing a bottle, but there was never. I kind of was watching it. I was like, he's kind of building it up to be this thing where it was like big animosity, and there was none of that. It was a bit of a friendly derby, to be honest. I think there was a lot of. I imagine there'd be a lot of banter, but I can't imagine there ever being massive riots outside, unless like something had proper kicked off on the pitch. I can't imagine there being sort of like British style violence in the streets. Yeah, it was kind of you was walking through to the ground, so you have to walk through the sort of the Ericsson Grape area, and you'd have a bar which was very clearly a Djurgaarden bar, and there was a bar which was very clearly a Hammarby bar, but like they kind of stuck to themselves. I wouldn't really say it was particularly aggro. But yeah, so Djurgaarden ended up winning the game. It was a really sort of hard-fought game in the end, but it was a brilliant experience and kind of one that I probably won't forget. It was really good sort of fan culture. The stadium itself was I didn't like it as much as I could as Friends Arena, but it was a really lovely experience. Just before I spend like another half hour talking about it, I kind of just want to quickly say is Stockholm is a city which has three. Well, I think there's actually another team which nobody talks about, but Stockholm is a city which has three brilliant teams. I think I like all three of them, really, to be honest. And they're three really iconic, and there's not a single lamppost in the city which doesn't have a sticker of one of the three teams on it. I love that. It's a football city, I think, is kind of the thing I always kind of aim for. But it's a football city which none of the teams have their own ground. And I think if I supported one of these, one of these three teams, I would just be like, I hate it, because Djurgaarden have their ground, but they don't play in it. The Olympic Stadium is beautiful. They have their ground, but they don't play in it. Well, they send their women team there. ICOR have the national stadium, which they share with Sweden, but because it's the national stadium, they kind of can't put their stamp on it. And Hammarby have their own ground. They had to knock down their old ground. They have their ground, but they have to share it with an arch rival. and it's like that just doesn't make any sense for me. It's not like three brilliant teams. None of them have a ground of their own. That's kind of the thing I would say about Stockholm football.
Yeah, that's a bit strange. I'd see what you're saying about Icor, how they can't they can't really do anything with that ground because it's also like the Swedish.
It will always be the.
It's
Swedish
like when Tottenham played at Wembley, they couldn't put like a load of Tottenham stuff all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, you can do bits. I mean, like the ground has the navy blue seats and it has the odd splash of yellow in the seats, like occasionally, like every like.
We can get away with that because Sweden also play in yellow, so it's...
and that does help. But it kind of, I was like, I can't really say it feels like a club ground. Lovely stadium, lovely place to watch football, but not really club ground. The Telly 2, because it's shared by these two teams, it's just grey seats. You could plonk that ground in any country in the world. And it could be, you could put that in Belgium, and it could be the home ground of Anderlecht. It could be the home ground of.
When I was looking at it empty and it's all grey, it's just very, very depressing. But then you put the fans in, and it kind of comes to life.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that is why, because they drape all these banners all the way around that ground, and it looks great. If you didn't have that, it would look crap. It's almost the perfect UEFA ground. Like if UEFA, Euro 2026 was in Scandinavia, you'd have a game at the Telly 2, and it'd look great on telly because it'd be all neutral and everyone can drape their flags everywhere. Brilliant. It just wouldn't. It's perfect for that, but not really for club. But it was a lovely experience, and I hope that you want to go in again because I want to come again. So there we go.
Yeah. Maybe when they sort the airports out.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, flying from Birmingham apparently has been a bit of a...
Yeah, I flew from Stansted and absolutely no problems at all. So
yeah, I think Birmingham's been Russian roulette. Really, it's like, is your flight going to go? No, bang.
Yeah, Ryanair and Stansted. The only issues I had sort of with that was at the same weekend, Lollapalooza Stockholm was happening, which is like the big music festival in Sweden. And there was loads of people going to that on that plane, but it was people who don't have plane etiquette. So they were just like sitting wherever. And I'm like, no, you need to sit in your... It was the German part of my brain was going like, no, this is not right. You have no respect for Ordnung. But yeah.
Sit in your allocated seats.
Yes. That was the main thing, but yeah. Anyway,
so
I need to rest my voice for a minute. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit worried that mine's already gone. I haven't even started talking yet. So while Mike was in Sweden, I went to Nuneaton, and the only thing I have to say about it is that the one part of the ground, this is the Liberty Way, Nuneaton. The one part of the ground is like it's a pub, and like the beer garden part of it is like right by the pitch. So that was pretty cool. And that was about it. That's about it from Nuneaton. It was one of them grounds where like I went there because there was a game on. Stockport County were the visitors. They played really well. I think they're going to do numbers in League Two this season. But that was about it from the takeaway. I was just happy to be somewhere where there was football. Yeah. So I had goal alerts on for your game. And I was like, I could be in Sweden. I'm in Nuneaton. So there was that. But at least I got to go to Old Trafford. So on I want to say Tuesday?
Thursday, I think, wasn't it?
Tuesday? Well, we're both wrong. It was Wednesday. Wednesday, the 6th of July, the Women's Euros kicked off, and it was at Old Trafford. So Old Trafford's one of the big grounds. It's one of the ones that you've got to really tick off, get it off the bucket list. My main aim this summer was to make sure I got Old Trafford done. And the main issue that you have with going to Old Trafford is that it's a complete bugger to get in and out of due to the sheer number of people that go there. So I think there was, I want to say 68,000 people at this game for the start of the Women's Euros. I can imagine that Man United games are even harder to get in and out of. So I consulted with various people who live around the Manchester area and said, "Well, what would you do if you were driving into Manchester?" And I think the first thing that someone said was, "Don't." So it's kind of like driving into London. It's like, if you drive into London, what do you do? Where do you go? So I kind of tried to find somewhere to park that was nearby, but not too far away. So it was like I could park there, and if we couldn't get transportation from the station, we could walk there, and it wasn't that far. So I settled on a place, I think it's called Empress Street, which was like a mile away from the ground. And then when we got there, because it was a game day, they basically bollarded off the car park so you can get into it. So I was like, okay,
Good work.
Yeah, fair enough. So plan B was just, because we're meeting Steve and Meg, we were meeting them at Port Street. So it was like, well, we'll just drive down to there and we'll see what the parking's like. But everywhere, it's a little bit like in London, where you go to park on the street and you can't, because there's a little parking thing saying permit holders only. So if you park on the street in London, I don't know if you know this, you basically get a fine.
Yeah.
Because you can't park anywhere.
I'd never drive in London.
So we went and had a look around at some of the car parks. Some of them were a little bit more expensive than others, but we ended up parking sort of right by Port Street. It was £9, and it basically, we could have parked there until 2 a.m.
No, that's all right.
So that was like a 12-hour parking was like £9, which compared to London is quite nice. So from there, we took the tram. So we went out had a couple of beers, and we took the tram. Like with like the tube in London, you basically have to just stick your card on the machine, and if you do that coming in and out, you don't get like fined for not doing it. But this is key. You can't just sneak on, because when you're coming out of Old Trafford, if you're going to the tram, they basically funnel you into this like thing where you have to go through, and if you don't pay, you literally can't get through it. Maria forgot her debit card, so I basically had to go and buy her a ticket at the machine, otherwise they wouldn't have let her back onto the tram, and we would have had to have walked 3 miles back to the car. The tram coming, I'm going to skip ahead to coming out. When you come out of Old Trafford, getting to the tram basically was like there's a bottleneck, and you're like this going into it, and then they wouldn't let you onto the platform until it was clear. So they let us onto the platform. There was a tram still there, so people are trying to jump onto this tram that was already full. So that was so full, they couldn't actually pull away, so it kind of went like to the end of the platform. And then another one came in. So my advice is to just wait. Just wait.
Or walk.
Fine. Or you could walk 3 miles.
Yeah.
Because Old Trafford is like 3 miles away from the city centre. So if you park up in the centre, it's either a 3 mile walk, or you can just jump on the tram. And we actually did okay. Or you could just go to the pub for a bit. But then, like, if you can imagine 68,000 people coming out of a ground at the same time, I haven't experienced that kind of volume of foot traffic before. You can't park anywhere near the ground because you just can't drive through it, because there's people everywhere. There's no way to escape. So what we did, I think, ended up being probably the best way to do it, is to park in the middle, get a tram in, and if you can't get a tram out, just walk it and you get back to your car pretty quick. Or you could just stay overnight somewhere. Is also another option. But yeah, a lot of people, when they talk about Old Trafford, say it's hell to get out of. And I completely understand that, having been there. It's just very, very congested. So yeah, that was my travel tips for it. I think I didn't actually take a picture going out, but like there was a lot of people in the building. So let me just share this screen here, so you can see how full the ground was. That is a lot of people. So you're dealing with an awful lot of foot traffic coming out. So my advice is to plan ahead.
Yeah. Wait
sorry,
for it. wait for a tournament to be there rather than trying to go to a Man United game because you have to pay like a privilege.
Yeah, that is the point. So I paid £79 for a ticket to this game, which by Man United standards is really very cheap. Because I looked at going to Man United against Villarreal last season, and I think it was 120 for a ticket. That's included because you have to buy membership because they gouge you with the membership. So you have to buy membership so you can buy a ticket. But you can't, when you're a member, you can't then just buy tickets for your mates. They have to be members as well. So like if I'd gone with Maria, we both would have had to have bought membership. Or if I'd gone with you, Mike, we both would have had to have bought membership and then bought the ticket. So I think the ticket was like somewhere around 90 for the game with Villarreal, plus the membership takes like 120.
I think the easiest way to do Old Trafford is if you do something like bloody Soccer Aid or something like that. That's probably the easiest way of doing it.
Yeah, I think that was at Etihad because I looked at doing that.
Yeah,
this year. So Old Trafford, I paid like 79 quid. Didn't even look at what the ticket was. It's just it was in category 1 because I basically just wanted to go to the game. So I was like, I will take whatever tickets are going, and they basically put me in category 1 because more people had applied for the cheap seats. So yeah, I had to pay a bit more. But then when we got to the ground, it's like, oh, you're in hospitality because that's what the entrance says. It says find this gate. Which incidentally, we went to the gate and the guy's like, "Oh no, it's not this one, mate. Go to another gate." So we had to walk around looking for this other gate, and then they'd let us in, and there's no turnstiles or anything. Hospitality is so weird. So we walked in.
Prawn Sandwich Brigade.
Yeah, you better believe it. So we walked in, and it's like walking into the foyer of like a hotel. And there's a lady there going, can I just see a ticket? And he was like, oh, there it is. And it was like, can I just see where it says hospitality? And it's there. I go, oh, okay, there you go. And they put like a little wristband on you and go on then. So it's like, now you're in. You just roam around. You could actually get down to the main concourse from there. So I went and had a look to see what that was like as well, because I didn't really fancy hanging around in the hospitality section. But I have taken a few pictures in there just so you can see what it's like.
See how the other half
so this is just the corridor. It was all painted in like United heroes and stuff. That is like a hospitality section. So we were sat in the Manchester suite here. So there's like a full bar at the end there, and there's like places where you can get food along the sides. But here's where they get you. You have to pay for the food. So you paid for hospitality tickets, and then on top of that, you have to pay for food. So I'm like, well, you could have got like a full meal in there, but we just went for nachos because they were cheaper. They were really good though, but it was like £7
That's
for
not
nachos.
bad,
And I'm
really.
like, well, you've already paid for hospitality, and they're going to gouge you for the food as well. It's like, well, what am I paying for hospitality for? To sit in a canteen, basically. The only thing I'll say about it that was good, the toilets were really clean.
Oh, well, that's half the battle, isn't it?
I'm considering sneaking into hospitality just to go to the toilet. That's the only thing it's good for.
I bet
the
seats
were really good as well, to be fair. So I showed you this a minute ago. So this is where we were sat. It looks kind of far away for any normal ground, but for Old Trafford, those are pretty great seats.
Yeah, it's good, man.
You'd be paying some serious money for those seats if you were going to anything else. It being the opening ceremony and everything, we got all this singing, all dancing stuff. Fortunately, the cameras are over there in your Sir Bobby Charlton stand, so everything was like that way, like away from us. So it's like we just got a bunch of pyro and stuff. And we had a bit where we were given these things and said like, oh, when you get your cue, hold these up. So I've still got mine. It was on the seat. So
okay.
So it was like a big square that you hold up, and it's supposed to look good on TV, but they set off so much pyro that you couldn't actually see the other side of the ground. So I don't know what it looked like. I have no idea what we were doing out there. We were just standing.
Did you try and watch it back, or?
Yeah, I've watched it. I've watched it from like the TV side, and you can't see it. So you can't see that side of the ground at all because they set off a bucket load of pyro, and look at it. You can't even see anything.
It's like when we went to see Mansfield.
It's just so bad. But they did give out those little one of those clapper things. It's got goal written on the back. So like behind the goal, they pulled out these little clapper things when there was a goal. That was pretty cool. Yeah, as far as games go, it was a bit meh.
It was a bit of a slog, that game, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it wasn't quite like the England games that followed it, but
no, because they went and like blazed a load of goals against Norway and Northern Ireland. But that first one was a slog. It was all right.
Yeah,
it was a 2.5-star game. Like,
yeah.
So having been to like a grand old girl of English football in Old Trafford, the other stadia that have been used for this tournament are basically all the same. They're all about 5 years old.
Yeah.
So I've been to 2 of them, which I'm going to quickly whip through now before we talk about the day that we had going to Brentford. So I went to MK Dons.
Stadium empty.
So Stadium MK, which was fine, I guess. This is where we parked. So I'm giving you some parking tips here. We went to what was the name of it? Ashland Lakes. So Ashland Lakes has a tiny little car park on it, and it's basically for this park.
Lake, yeah.
So yeah, we went and walked around it. It was horrible because it's in Milton Keynes. And
did you see any concrete cows?
I didn't. No,
yeah. They might not have them there.
But it was close by, so we walked from there. And as I said to Mike before we started recording, there's also a great big industrial estate sort of off to the east of where Stadium MK is. So if you don't want to park in the IKEA, I mean, you should do because it's big. But like, if you don't want to park there, there's like a big industrial estate, and there's a load of street parking there. It's all a really short walk away. I mean, Ashland Lakes was about a mile, I think, maybe less. And we walked over to the ground. They closed the upper, so like the upper part of Stadium MK wasn't that open, when everyone was in the bottom part of the bowl. So normally like these doors would be open as well, but we were all funneled in through there. I was in the Finnish section, and as with like Icor's fans, they were very vocal, and they didn't shut up for the entire game. Even though they got hammered, they were quite happy to sing and chant all the way through. It was a really nice experience sitting in with them. I've kind of got a soft spot for Finland now. But as you can see from this picture, like we came in and the whole thing is open. So like the concourse, you can see it running all the way around the ground there. The concourse is all open, and you just kind of stand there and like watch from there. So we went and got some food, and we just kind of stood, and you can see all the pitch and everything. So like at half time when people were milling around up there, I was thinking I probably could have spent the whole game just kind of walking around the concourse and just watching from there. It would have been fine. Which I don't think I've been to a ground where the concourse is this open, where it's just the whole thing is open all the way around. There's the odd pillar, but it's basically just completely open, and you can see from anywhere. The only place where you can't see from is the bar, because of stupid football league regulations. The bar is basically, you have to go down a tunnel, and it's off to the side. So it's like buried where you can't see the pitch. But from everywhere else, you can see the pitch.
Yeah. It's I kind of hope for a day when that rule is gone, but I don't know if I trust English football fans.
Yeah, that's the problem. The problem is the fans, and they're a bit unreliable when it comes to being not dickheads. So like I got to sit in with Finland, so like there's a load of Finn supporters around us. We had this bloke with the really tall hat on, was sat right in front of Maria, and we had a little bit of a funny back and forth with him where he said, "Oh, I'll take it off," because obviously it's obscuring your view. But it was baking hot that day, and there's no shade. You can see big old Mr. Sun up in the top right-hand corner there, blaring down on us. So like Maria was leaning forwards underneath it and using it as shade. And I was trying to explain to him that like, oh, keep it on until the game starts because it's good for like cover. And he's like, didn't really understand what I was trying to get across. And they went, we ended up on shadow. He's like, oh, the shadow. Oh, okay. I'll leave it on. So he was a good lad. And there's another bloke sat next to him who I was behind. He had the fucking helmet on. Keeping in mind, it was roasting that day. It was boiling hot. And I didn't say anything to him because I could see over the top of him. I've deliberately slouched down to take this picture. But when Spain scored, he basically went like that with the turned the But I can't argue with that. It was a good bit. Apart from being excruciatingly hot, the seats were pretty good. But I will show you now what the view would have been like if we just stood in the concourse.
Oh, brilliant! I might do that.
That's basically perfect. Yeah. I don't know what they're like security-wise with you standing up there for the whole game. I don't know whether that would be a thing where they go like, no, you can't do that.
Excuse me, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, because we had that at the Copper Box when we were in Copper Box. Basically, I was standing at the back and it was fine for a while. And then they said, you've got to move. And I was like, yeah, I can't sit down because my knee's a bit jippy. And they're like, okay, just stand back. So I don't know if you get away with that, just saying, like, my knee's a bit bad.
Was that when you did the New Japan show?
Yeah. That was at the Copper Box.
Sorry to cross codes into our
yeah. So that was Milton Keynes. I kind of like Milton Keynes, which I feel that's a controversial opinion because everyone says it's horrible.
I think it's a lovely stadium. It's I'm going on Wednesday. It's a ground that I've never done. There's two big grounds in my general area which I've not done: Milton Keynes and Watford, for obvious reasons. Milton Keynes I will be doing on Wednesday as we record this, so it might be in the past. I might have already done it. It depends on when this goes out. But I'm going to go into the semi-final between France and Germany. So it's a ground that I've been to and I'm aware of. I've been for a convention there before, but it is a nice facility. It's just obviously the way it came about is a travesty, really, isn't it?
Yeah, the one beef that I would have with Stadium MK is that it's so far away from the station. It's like with Manchester, where Old Trafford is like 3 miles away from the centre. Milton Keynes is 3 miles away from the railway station. So if you go on public transport, you're going to have yourself a lengthy walk to get from the train station to the ground. It's basically because Milton Keynes is just set out in blocks because it's like been planned from
that's an issue with the town in general, is that the basic ethos of it's my town planning nerd stuff. The basic ethos of Milton Keynes as a city, as a town, well, it is a city now. The basic ethos of the city was that people would live in the suburbs and commute to the centre on bicycles and things like that. But unfortunately, they just connected it to London, so people live in Milton Keynes and just go to London. So that's why a lot of it is so empty and barren, and everything's so far away from each other because just nobody uses it. It's just it's a quirk of a terrible place, really.
It's a stupid idea. I think we've all agreed on that. But the good news is I don't have to go and watch MK Dons play.
Yeah, exactly.
Ever, which is great. The other game I went to was France versus Italy. So that was in Rotherham. So here we are in sunny Rotherham. It was 30 degrees this day. So we were lucky in that if we'd have been at like the Milton Keynes position, we'd have basically just melted. The good news here was just after kickoff, basically the sun went behind the stand, which was nice. So it was actually a pretty chilled out game. We were sat among the Italian fans, which was they were quite loud. But yeah, they got battered. They got proper battered. Rotherham as a ground, I thought was okay. it's very much one of these new
Cookie cutter.
stadiums where it's just a big square and they filled the corners in and everything, so you can get as many people in there as possible. Doesn't really have a lot of personality to it. It's just a box.
It could be in any town in the country.
It's not a particularly good build. It wasn't great. The only good thing about it was I think there's no such thing as a bad view in this ground. We were sat up in the corner in the cheap seats, and the view was fantastic. It was pretty much as good as the view that we had at Burnley when I said like Burnley was like one of the best views I'd ever had at a football game. It was similar to that. I was close enough to the pitch where, like, when France are celebrating the goal, I've taken that picture. Like, we're really not that far away from the action. And France scored all their goals right in front of us, so that was fun. The Italians got a goal back in the second half, so they got to cheer something, which was nice. But yeah, sitting among the Italian fans was a fun experience. They weren't as vocal as the Finnish fans, and they went very quiet when they started getting battered. It was what it was. But yeah, Rotherham, not much to say about the ground. The place was kind of surprisingly nice. I don't know if that's just because they got like fans from like France and Italy in town, but like they had a really nice sort of
it probably helped. It was a beautiful day as well.
Yeah.
If you're trudging around Rotherham, on a October,
I think that as well. That any ground that
degree.
you go to in the summer months is going to kind of have a little bit of a bump based on the fact that it's the summer, and that's going to make it better. Yeah, so that was Rotherham. It was fine. I've ticked it off the list.
It's done.
That's another one done. I didn't like the concourse particularly. At Rotherham, it wasn't that open. It's very much sort of everything's squidged so that your view's really good. So I kind of understand what they've gone for there, but the ground didn't have a lot of character, and I think you need to be in there when there's like a bit of atmosphere to really
want a bit of bite to it.
Yeah, that'd be nice. So that brings us up to last weekend, where we both went to the Spain-Denmark game at Brentford, and I think it was the day before. So this is like Kilby planning here, where it was like the day before. We're like, let's get another game in, and then we ended up going to Gander Green Lane to watch Sutton United play Charlton in a pre-season friendly.
It was a good way to get 2 ticks on the old 92 list. And actually, it's London's newest Football League grounds. So,
yeah, well, this is still the newest Football League ground because the 2 teams that have come up in the summer, Grimsby and Stockport, were previously league teams. So Sutton is still the newest league team. It's a very small, very non-leaguey kind of stadium.
Yeah. I've been to quite a few grounds around sort of the London area, obviously being where I am. There weren't much. There's not much between Sutton United and Welling United, and Welling United Parkview Road isn't that much different to this. There's not much between this and Wealdstone's ground. I
think that the one thing that really set Sutton apart was you could see the history of it. In that it's got the curved terracing in the corners, sort of where you come in, and in the other corner at that end. So I've pulled the map up so you can see from the air, but you can see the curves of this end. So you can see where the ground used to be. It's like a big bowl. So they had an athletics track previously, and the ground was like bigger, and they made it smaller to kind of make it into a proper football stadium. And they built that sort of away end, which feels like it's right on top of the pitch.
Yeah, but like, as a League Two ground, you compare it to the Banks' Stadium in Walsall. It makes that look like the Nou Camp.
Yeah, It's tiny. Sutton is tiny. So they've only got two stands. Well, two seated stands. So there's one which we stood on the terrace, but opposite us, that's the grandstand.
Yeah,
which is the
away end.
It's not very big at all. And then there's the away end, which have I taken a photo of the away end? It's in the background there.
Yeah,
just over there. And the away end is probably like the most leaguey kind of part of the ground. It's probably the newest part of the ground. I think they got the.
I think they paid for that from the Arsenal game. I remember them saying something like the Arsenal game paid for the stand or something. It helped pay for it.
Well, they're gonna need some cup runs then to get the rest of the ground up to spec. I want them to maintain that curved terracing at the end because I think that's like really
lovely,
very cool. It's a nice to kind of show that side of their history. But the rest of the ground is in need of improvements. They've even said if you go on the website, it says on there they're aware that they're behind the rest of the football league and they're going to try and improve things. Where they've got to be careful to not spend too much money and end up with a great ground but back in non-league.
Yeah, you need to be sustainable. Yeah, there's too many clubs which have gone for broke and then it's screwed them. Let's say
there's got to be a balance.
What I'd say, it's basic. It's not unpleasant. It's not an unpleasant ground to go to. It's just basic. That's all it was.
Yeah. I'm used to like
I don't think non-league is a negative.
Yeah, no, I'm used to Bromsgrove as like a non-league standard for me because it's the ground I've been to the most. But Bromsgrove is like a slightly worse version of Sutton in that they've got the grandstand on the one side and they've got no seating. So we haven't had the Arsenal game where we get to build that stand at the one end. It's basically where Bromsgrove is at compared to Sutton. It's a very similar kind of standard. So for me, it was like, oh, Sutton's quite nice compared to
Bromsgrove.
Bromsgrove's non-league ground.
Nice ground. I thought it was nice.
It's pleasant. Yeah. It's too hot. It was like 32 degrees or something, and it was in London, so it was probably hotter than that. But it was a little bit too hot to be comfortable enjoying football.
I had to buy a sun hat. I had to buy a bucket hat.
Yeah, I've got a picture of that.
I should have brought it in with me. But
there it is.
Yeah, very comfortable hat, and I wore it for about 3 days afterwards. I wore it to work. It's great. Loved it. Yeah, big fan of that.
Yeah, so that was Sutton. So we parked. Sutton's website says that ideally you want to park at this multi-story, which is about a mile and a little bit away from the ground. It was a pleasant enough walk. It wasn't that far away. We walked through the park to get to the ground. So yeah, I'd recommend following their instructions on that one. It wasn't too expensive. I think it was.
It was £5, wasn't it?
I think it was a £5 to park there for like 3 hours. In London, I'll take that. Is Sutton London? I guess it is.
Yeah, it's nice bit of London.
It's suburby. So that was Sutton, and we got the chance to do this as a part of a double header. So we went from Sutton and we drove across. Well, we drove up the outskirts of London to Brentford Community Stadium, which is a ground that a lot of Groundhoppers have been trying to tick off. And it's difficult to get tickets to Brentford because they're in the Premier League and it's not a very big ground and they've never been in the Premier League before. So
they have a membership system.
Yes. So it's very hard to get tickets. So we went during the Euros.
I remember looking on, because I follow Footballogy on Twitter, and there was lots of people saying, I've completed my 92 again today because they went to Brentford. So I think it was a very popular fixture for that reason.
Yes. Yeah, that did help. It was basically packed, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Not a lot of empty seats.
So there was in our entourage, so we had myself, you, Maria, we had our good friend of the show, Welshie, Meg and Steve were also there. So
I like that Steve took a photo of me during the game.
Yeah.
But didn't bother walking over to say hi, even though he was literally like the next block over.
Yeah.
But I took a picture of that whole block and then found him in it afterwards and goes like, you were right there. If I shouted Steve, he probably would have heard.
Yeah. So we all got separated, unfortunately, as is the problem with UEFA ticketing. We all got separated. So I ended up in the south stand. And basically, I was in. If you look at a picture of Brentford, the Brentford Stadium, there's like, if you ever watch it on telly, there's a corner which has got about 4 rows in it. And I was on the back row of one of them 4 rows, and it was brilliant. I was stuck in this corner with these Spanish people, and they were very vocal. And I was kind of like, well, I was kind of hoping to support Denmark, but I'll just keep quiet. But because it was like behind, it was on the back row of my own personal stand, basically, I just stood for the whole game. It was brilliant. I had a lovely line of sight. I don't know if you've got my pictures from there.
Yeah, I was just looking for it.
Yeah, I had a lovely line of sight. I was sort of to the right of the BBC.
There you go.
There we go. That was brilliant view. I was just to the right of the BBC studios, so I could sort of see Gabby Logan and people like that. So that was kind of fun to watch at half time.
I like that. So you sent me a picture, and I couldn't see what it was because like the internet wasn't working properly in the stadium, and it just said Gabby, and I was like, "You sat by Gabby Agbonlahor?"
No, Gabby Logan.
Gabby Logan,
broadcasting icon. But it was really, really nice view from where I was. Lovely stadium, and my takeaway from the ground is obviously Luton Town is due to build a new ground very soon, Power Court. If Power Court is like Brentford, I'm going to be loving it. I would be so happy if it is like that, because and I kind of think it will be. Brilliant place to watch football. I would very happily watch football in there every week. It was lovely experience. The site was lovely, comfortable. Just a really, really nice ground. I think it's the ground that they've done a great
character. Like, I mean, you're saying that you're in the one corner. You can see the other corner over here.
Yeah, I was in the other version. Yeah,
you can see it. It's tiny. I like that it's quirky. It's got a lot of character about it for a new ground, and I like that people who are designing stadiums are thinking about this before building a stadium. They're not just going, well, let's pack as many people in as we can in a big shoebox kind of ground. They're actually thinking about what it's going to look like and what it's going to be like to experience it as a fan. And the Brentford ground, for me, is the best new build ground that I've been in, hands down.
No doubt about it. Absolutely.
I don't think there's any one that comes close to it.
If it hasn't won awards for stadium quality, it should be. It's absolutely brilliant. I can't fault it, genuinely. The one thing I can fault is I got done out of a chicken goujon. The thing, it was £8 for 3 chicken goujons. That wasn't very good.
Oh yeah, don't eat at the stadium. I normally don't tell people to not eat at the stadium, but the prices were insane.
Stupid. Yeah,
for what they were offering.
Don't eat at Icor either. It's the worst hot dog I've ever had. God. But yeah, no. Apart from that one minor problem, perfect stadium. Genuinely, I can't have any complaints about it at all. Absolutely superb. It lives up to the hype. I think a lot of people said, "Oh, it's a lovely place to watch football." Yeah,
it is.
Can't disagree at all.
It really is. I mean, I was in cheap seats here, so I'm pretty far back in the corner, and I had a perfect view.
Yeah,
I had a great view. I think there's only 2 rows behind me from where I was sat, which is unfortunate because I ideally would have been on the back row. Then I could have just stood up. But we were like 2 rows in, so there were a couple of miserable Spanish people behind us, and we were surrounded by Danes as well, and they were very, very vocal. So I feel like we were like part of the Denmark section. Just having a moment here where I click on the right thing. So there's a load of Denmark fans off to the left of us. There were a load of Denmark fans in front of us, and this lady here with the megaphone was basically like leading all the chants. They sung the national anthem a couple of times. It was proper like let's go Denmark, and then Spain won, which was unfortunate, but yeah, these things happen.
Yeah. But yeah, it was definitely worth it, and I say 100% recommend it. Obviously, I recommend every ground we go to, but 100% say that Brentford is one that you should go out if you wait to do. It'll be here for a long while, so don't worry about it. It's not one that's going to disappear.
The good news as well is if you get bored and it's a terrible game, you can watch the planes taking off from Heathrow because they'd fly right over the top. So...
One thing I forgot to ask: could you see the people in the flats opposite the flats behind the stand you was facing?
I could see the flat. So if I just pull
there were people. So in that block, in those blocks of flats, there were people just stood on the roof of it.
Oh really? Oh okay. I couldn't see anyone, but yeah, you can, like that one that's behind the stand, because of the angle of the roof, you would actually be able to see basically
pretty much most of
the game, which is nice for them.
Yeah. So yeah,
it gave me big Football Manager vibes as well with the. I know it's designed on the Football Manager one is designed from Wimbledon's ground, but it's the same sort of thing with the blocks of flats over it.
Yeah, I think at the end of this season, I'm 99% sure it's going to be my stadium of the year already. I can't see anything knocking that off. So unless I go something miraculously different, perfect stadium to go to.
And on that note, we should probably depart. Feel free to hit that subscribe button if you're still watching at this point, and smash like for us. And we will be back with another episode when we've got some stuff coming up. We're definitely going to Arsenal
on Saturday,
next week, and some of the bits and bobs around it. So there'll be more to come shortly, and we will see you then.
Yeah. See you later.